Sound off for Chesterfield. Chesterfield, first with premium quality and best for you. Chesterfield brings you Dragnet.
Ladies and gentlemen, the story you are about to hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent. You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to homicide detail. You get a call from a man telling you that a woman has been badly beaten. Before you can get the name of the victim or any other information, the caller hangs up. Your job? Investigate. Here is Chesterfield's record with smokers, and important to you.
No adverse effects to the nose, throat, and sinuses from smoking Chesterfield.
That's the report of a doctor who has been examining a group of Chesterfield smokers for a full year and 2 months as a part of a program supervised by a responsible independent research laboratory. Don't you want to try a cigarette with a record like this? Chesterfield. First with premium quality. Chesterfield. First choice of young America. And that's from a survey made in 274 colleges and universities. Try Chesterfields today. Chesterfield. Regular or king size. They're much milder and best for you.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Friday, June 10th. It was hot in Los Angeles. We were working the night watch out of homicide detail. My partner's Frank Smith. The boss is Captain Lorman. My name's Friday. I was on my way back from the main jail, and it was 8:10 p.m. when I got to room 42. Homicide. Frank?
Yeah.
Wait a minute, I want to talk to you.
I'm not going anyplace.
Oh. Well, I talked to Evans. I couldn't get any more out of him.
The arraignment's still set for the 14th, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Hey, can't you settle down for a minute and stop that pacing up and down? What's the matter? Something on your mind?
On my leg.
Oh, something wrong with it?
Not a thing. Just walking.
Well, I wish you could manage to stand still for a minute. I'm getting little billiards following you around the room.
You know how far it is from here to the business office?
What do you mean?
How far?
Oh, it's just across the hall. Is that what you mean? 25 feet?
No, you're wrong. It's 1/210th of a mile.
Oh, that's good to know.
It's 1/6 of a mile to the crime lab, including the stairs. 1/8 of a mile to Sal's Cafe. 4 trips to R&I equals 1/4 of a mile. Never knew that, did you?
No.
Our grand total tonight so far is over 6 miles and we're only half through. What do you think of that, Joe?
Well, what's it all prove?
Well, this is a walking job we got.
Well, everybody knows that, don't they?
Yeah, but I'm the only one in the department who knows exactly how far we walk.
That's fine. Any calls come in while I was out?
No. Like to know how I do it?
What's that?
It's done with a pedometer. Measures miles. Just fastens on your legs, see? At the end of the day, you know exactly how far you walk.
Yeah.
Gonna measure everything, Joe. Keep track. Gonna know exactly how far everything is.
What for?
Somebody might want to know.
Who? I get it. Homicide, Friday. Yeah. Now, what's that address again? Yeah. Right. Well, we got one to roll on.
What do you got?
Ambulance follow-up, Westlake area.
Yeah.
Woman's been beaten. 8:14 p.m. We left the city hall and drove to the address we'd been given. 8674 Cambria Street was a large private home that had been divided into apartments. The house was quiet and there was no sign of any disturbance. There was a woman sitting in a glider on the front porch. We went up and talked to her.
Something I can do for you?
Police officers, ma'am. We got a call that there'd been some sort of trouble here.
What kind of trouble?
The woman had been beaten. Is that right?
It must be some kind of joke. Nothing like that here. You sure you got the right address?
The one we were given, ma'am. You got an apartment 104?
Yeah, the last one back on the left. Rockmans live there, Mr. and Mrs.
We'd like to see the apartment.
Go ahead. Anything happened around here, I'd know about it. I'm the landlady. Anything happened, I'd know about it. Go ahead, you won't find anything.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Here it is.
I'll get it.
Better try the door, huh?
Yeah. Nobody here.
Looks like they had a party, huh? I'll
Yeah.
check the back. No? No one out there.
Coffee on the table's cold.
You find anything?
Where's that door go, ma'am?
Bedroom.
Joe, throw on the bed.
No. Yeah, really worked her over, huh?
How about it?
See if I can find her pulse here. Yeah, she's still alive.
What is it? Something happened to Hazel?
Joe?
It's pretty bad. Both eyes black, bleeding. Is this Mrs. Rockman here?
Yeah, it's Hazel. What's wrong?
Where's your husband?
I don't know.
When'd you see him last?
Oh, about 5 minutes ago.
Where was that?
On the front porch. He just walked out.
The ambulance crew arrived and immediately removed the victim to Georgia Street Receiving Hospital for emergency treatment. We got in touch with Officer Ed Barrett of the hospital detail and asked him to try to get a statement from the victim if she regained consciousness. We locked the door to the Rockman apartment to preserve any physical evidence we might need, and then we went down and talked to the landlady, Mrs. Ruth Baker. We found her on the front porch. We asked her what she knew about what had happened.
I sure wish I could tell you more. How about Hazel? Is she going to be all right?
We don't know yet, Miss Baker. She's pretty badly beaten.
Mm-hmm. Well, what do you want from me?
Some questions we'd like to ask, ma'am.
About what? I've told you what I know.
Do you know where Mrs. Rockman's husband was going?
No, I don't. I don't much care either.
Did you see anything at all when he went out?
Not a word. Just walked out in a sort of daze, like a trance, sort
He
of.
didn't say anything at all to you?
I just got through telling you that he didn't.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. and Ms. Rockman fight often, would you know?
No, not any more than any married couple.
Miss Baker,
Yeah?
wonder if you can give us a description of Mr. Rockman?
Description?
Yes, ma'am. Tell us what he looks like.
You figure he did that to Hazel, huh?
That's what we want to talk to him about.
What kind of description do you want?
About how tall is he?
About as tall as he is?
That'd be 5'10", huh?
If that's what you are.
How much would you say he weighed?
Wouldn't even make a guess. I don't notice things like that.
Yes, ma'am, but would you say he was medium build or heavy?
I'd say medium. Not too heavy, not too skinny. Medium.
What color's his hair?
Black.
How about his eyes?
Brown. Real dark brown.
He wear glasses?
No.
Was he clean shaven?
What do you mean?
Well, do you have a mustache?
No, he had one a while ago. He tried to grow one, but Hazel made him take it off. It never grew real well. Little scraggly thing.
What was he wearing when you saw him last?
Shirt and pants.
Could you tell us what color the shirt was?
No, and I can't tell you what color the pants were either. It's dark out here. I didn't pay much attention when he left. Just thought he didn't feel well. Sick from the party.
All right, Miss Baker. May I use your phone?
Sure, help yourself. It's in the living room, right inside the door to your left. You can't miss it.
All right, ma'am. Thanks. I'll call this in, Joe.
Right. You know, Miss Baker,
Yeah?
does Mr. Rockman drink much?
Why do you ask that?
Well, I wonder if there might be some bar in the neighborhood that he might have gone to, maybe?
No, he doesn't drink much at all. Once in a while, he and Hazel have a glass of wine before dinner. You know, sharpen the appetite. Just a glass of wine before dinner.
Mm-hmm. And you haven't any idea where he might have gone?
Not the slightest.
Does he have any relatives in the city?
I can't answer that.
You mean you don't know?
Must have some people someplace. Most of us do. But I'm not the kind of person who pries into the private lives of my tenants. They pay their rent, no loud parties, and I don't bother them.
Now, about this party tonight.
Yeah, what about it?
Was there any trouble?
Not that I knew about.
You didn't hear anything? Any loud talking? Any arguments, maybe?
Nope, I wasn't at the party. Wasn't invited. Hazel gave it for her Tony friends. Going to play bridge. I wasn't there.
Yes, ma'am. Could you tell us who was there?
Never been able to get the hang of the game. Don't like cards. Chinese checkers, that's my game. Never could understand bridge, so I wasn't invited.
Well, can't you give us a list of the people who were there?
I suppose. Why do you need it?
We'd like to talk to them.
Well, I guess it'd be all right to give them to you. How's Hazel? You heard yet?
No, ma'am.
Sure a terrible thing. Not that maybe she didn't deserve it, but it's sure terrible.
Why do you say that, Miss Baker?
What do you mean, why do I say it? I say it because it's true. No other reason to say something.
Yes, ma'am, but what do you mean?
Just that it was bound to happen. Somebody was bound to haul off and slap her mouth shut one of these days, the way she talked.
Ma'am?
Accusing. Always accusing. Thought everybody in the world was after her. Always tell me that she knew about me, that I wasn't fooling anybody. The words she'd use. And they're supposed to be so tonal.
Well, did she have any enemies around her? Anyone to make her think that, would you know?
Well, she didn't have any right-out enemies. There were several people who didn't like her. They thought she was too snooty for them.
I called the office, Joe. They're putting out a broadcast.
Did you check him?
Yeah, nothing on him.
Mm-hmm.
Hope it's all right, ma'am. I left your number in case they want to reach us.
Sure, it's all right.
Can you give us the names of the people who were at the party tonight, ma'am?
Yeah, there was Lily Davis, the Harrises, and there was some fellow with Lily that I never saw before.
You know where you can get in touch with them, do you?
Well, the Harrises live up in 203, and Lily has an apartment 105 right across from the Rockmans. She ought to be able to tell you something. Don't know if it's going to be the truth, but she'll think of something to tell you.
Yes, ma'am. She a good friend of Mrs. Rockman's, do you know?
Oh, you bet. They're thick as thieves. Always having little lunches by themselves, talking secrets, buzzing around. Thieves. Myself, I never took to Lily. I always thought she was kind of wild, divorcee, you know.
All right, Miss Baker, thank you very much. We'll be in 105 if there are any calls. Appreciate it if you let us know if Mr. Rockman comes in. Don't mention to him that we're here.
Mm-hmm. All right.
That was 105, you said?
Yeah.
Better talk to this Davis woman, huh?
Yeah, maybe she can tell us where Rockman is.
Yeah. 105, here it is.
Yes?
Miss Davis?
Yes. Is there something I can do for you?
Yes, ma'am. We're police officers.
What is it you want with me?
We'd like to talk to you, ma'am.
Oh, well, come in.
Thank you. I wonder if it'd be all right if we left the door open.
I suppose so. Any special reason?
Well, we'd like to keep an eye on the apartment across the hall.
Well, what's it about?
We understand that you know the Rockmans pretty well.
I suppose so. Why?
Do you have any idea where Mr. Rockman might be?
No, I don't. Isn't he across the hall?
No, ma'am, he isn't.
Well, I don't know where he is. Have you talked to Hazel?
No, ma'am.
Well, why don't you ask her? She should know.
We were wondering if you could help us out.
No, last I saw of him was when he left their place.
Uh-huh.
Say, I wonder if you'd mind if I went ahead with what I was doing.
Ma'am?
Probably seems silly to you, but it's a hobby of mine. Wire sculpture. Silly, but it gives me a chance to relax.
Yes, ma'am. Well, you go right ahead.
I don't think I got your name.
Well, my name's Friday. This is my partner, Frank Smith.
How do you do?
How do you do,
Smith,
ma'am?
Mr. Friday. Well, what's all this about? Herman done something wrong?
No, it's just a routine investigation, Miss Davis.
Oh, mm-hmm.
We understand that you were at their place tonight, a party, huh?
Well, yes. Hazel was going to have a couple of tables of bridge.
Anything unusual happen while you were there?
No, nothing that you'd call really unusual.
Who was there, ma'am?
Well, myself, the Harrises, they live upstairs, and Tom Reeves. Another couple were coming over after dinner, but they called and said they couldn't make it. Just as well. None of us felt much like playing.
Why was that?
Well, Hazel wasn't feeling very well. She and Herman had a little argument. You know how it is, kind of uncomfortable. Excuse me. Hello? Yes. Oh, yes, Tom. No. Well, you've got to understand she wasn't feeling too well. Mm-hmm. Just one of those things. Yeah. What? No, I've got a meeting that I want to go to tomorrow night. Modern art, yes. At a place down on Melrose. Well, sure, if you want to. Mm-hmm. All right. You want to pick me up about 7? Right. Okay. See you then. Bye. Excuse me, that was Tom. He's a nice boy. I just met him tonight. The Rockman set it up.
Mm-hmm. What was this argument that the Rockmans had? Do you know what that was about?
Well, it was nothing, just a little thing. Hazel hadn't been feeling well lately. It's awfully easy to set her off. I guess sometimes Herman doesn't realize it.
Yes, ma'am, but what caused it tonight?
Well, you see, Hazel's been thinking that there was somebody been following her. spying on her. She told Herman about it tonight. That made him a little angry. And, well, then at dinner we just sat down. Mrs. Harris said that she'd seen a picture of the dress that Hazel had on in the morning paper. Well, Hazel didn't understand. I guess she thought that Mrs. Harris was being nasty about it. And she got up and left the table, went into the bedroom.
Yes, ma'am.
Herman got up and went in after her. Came out and said that she wasn't feeling well. It kind of threw a damper on the evening, so when the other couple called and said that they wouldn't be able to make it, we all decided to call it quits.
Mm-hmm. Was there any reason for Mrs. Rockman to feel that there was somebody spying on her?
Oh, no, Mr. Friday. It was just one of those things. She'd go along fine, feel good, and then she'd wake up in the morning and start to think about things, and she'd get depressed. Well, when she's like that, there isn't anything that can lift her out of it. We used to talk about it. I'd try to help her. Same thing happened to me, I know. It's just one of those things.
Yes, ma'am.
Maybe if they'd had children, it'd be different, but lately she hasn't been feeling well, and she and Herman haven't been getting along. He just didn't seem to understand. She'd get angry, and he'd work late. And the more he worked late and stayed away from home, the more she'd fret and get angry. It's just a vicious circle. Nothing anyone can do about it. It'll pass with time.
Mm-hmm. When Rockman went in to see his wife, did they argue?
Well, they had a few words, a little loud, nothing serious. Then he came out and said that everything was all right.
Oh, ma'am, did Rockman ever get violent toward his wife, do you know?
What do you mean, violent?
He ever hit her?
No, I don't think so. A couple of times when I was over there, he looked like he might be thinking of it, but I never saw it. I think if he ever did hit her, Hazel would have told me. We were very close, as I said. I tried to help her.
Mm-hmm.
Just a few loud words. That's all I ever knew about. Anyway, after Herman came out of the bedroom, we all decided to leave. This fellow, Tom, he wanted to go on, out someplace, but I was a little tired, and I'd just met him tonight, so I begged off and came home.
Yes, ma'am.
Can't you tell me what this is all about?
Miss Davis,
Hello, Mrs. Baker. Something you want?
I want to see the police. Mr. Smith, your office called, said you were to call this number right away. Here's the number they gave me. They said you'd know I wrote it down.
Thanks, ma'am. Here, you want to call, Joe?
Yeah. What if I use your phone, Miss Davis?
Sure, help yourself.
Thank you.
Isn't this the most awful thing you've heard in all your life?
What?
Well, about Herman, what he did. Terrible. They ought to send him away for a long time, a good long
Dr.
time.
Hall, please.
What are you talking about?
All the ambulances, the police, never had a thing like this happen before. All the excitement and what Herman did. Just terrible. That's all terrible.
Miss Baker, would you wait just a minute, please?
Will somebody tell me what this is all
Hello,
about?
Dr. Hall. This is Joe Friday. Yeah. Yeah, we're here now. She is. You're sure about that, right? Yeah, well. Okay, Doc. Right. No, we'll call him right now. Yes, it does. Right. Bye. Georgia Street.
Yeah?
Miss Rockman died. There's something else.
What?
She wasn't beaten. She was shot to death.
You are listening to Dragnet, the authentic story of your police force in action.
Years ahead of them all. Chesterfield is years ahead of all cigarettes. Chesterfield quality is highest. Here's the proof. Recent chemical analyses give an index of good quality for the country's 6 leading cigarette brands. The index of good quality table, which is a ratio of high sugar to low nicotine, shows Chesterfield quality highest. Chesterfield quality highest. 15% higher than its nearest competitor. Chesterfield quality highest. 31% higher than the average of the 5 other leading brands. Don't you want to try a cigarette with a record like this? Chesterfield. First with premium quality and best for you. Try Chesterfield today. Regular or king size.
9:10 p.m. We called the crime lab, and Ray Pinker and a crew were sent out to check the physical evidence at the scene. We contacted Ed Barrett at the hospital, but he said the woman had not regained consciousness. Frank and I went upstairs to talk with Mr. and Mrs. Harris. They gave us substantially the same story we'd gotten from Lily Davis. They agreed that when Rockman went into the bedroom to see his wife, they'd heard loud voices but nothing else. They stated positively that as far as they knew, there'd been no shot fired while they were in the Rockman apartment. 9:17 p.m. We checked with the other people in the apartment building. None of them could report having heard a shot. From them, we got the same story of Mrs. Rockman's actions. Some of the neighbors said that they didn't get along with her. Others seemed to understand her feelings. 9:22 p.m. We checked back with Ray Pinker and the crew from the crime lab.
We didn't spend a lot of time here, Ray. The husband looked good for it. We were trying to round him up.
Shooting was a real surprise, huh? Looks like a beating to us. We couldn't tell. The boys from Georgia Street got it out of here right away.
Yeah.
Did you come up with anything, Ray?
Yeah, a couple things. How you fellas got it figured?
Well, talking to the neighbors, looks like the husband does.
Talked to him?
No, he walked right out after it happened. Got out a broadcast on him. Nothing's turned up yet, though.
Mm-hmm.
How's it look to you, Ray?
Well, I'm not sure I can go along with you guys and the husband.
Yeah.
I talked with Doc Hall. We aren't going to be able to know for sure till they post the body. Woman was slapped around, we know that.
Yeah, we saw it. It looked pretty brutal to us.
You mean the black eye?
Yeah.
What Doc Hall says, that didn't come from beating. He says the bullet did it.
Was he pretty sure about it?
Looks like it. Autopsy will prove it.
Where'd you find the gun?
Under the bed. Over here, right side.
Mm-hmm.
Indentation on the floor here. Evidently fell from her hand, bounced back under the bed.
Any prints on it?
Lifted 3 clean ones.
You been able to make them?
Lifted some from the dressing table over there. Perfume bottles, mirror. Looks like they might belong to the dead woman. Check them for sure later.
You figure maybe she did it herself then, huh?
Way it's beginning to shape up.
Well, how about the shot, Ray? Nobody we've talked to heard it.
Here's the explanation for that. This pillow here. See the bullet hole here? Burn?
Yeah.
Doc Hall says she was shot in the back of the right ear. She must have held the gun in the pillow. That muffled the sound. What noise there was wouldn't be heard very far.
Well, how can you be sure it was suicide, Ray?
Just an idea now. We'll roll the dead woman's prints, run a blotter test on her, see if she fired the gun. Check for nitrate, we'll know for sure.
Well, how long will that take?
I'll be finished in an hour or so. What you think? The way I get it, the bullet entered just behind the right ear. Passed behind the eyes. I've seen it a couple times before.
Yeah, but Doc Hall said that she'd been slapped a couple of times, Ray.
Yeah. Said he found a couple of bruises on her cheeks. Not enough to do any damage, though. Sure not enough to kill her.
Mr. Friday? Mr. Friday?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you come right over to my place? Herman's on the phone.
What's that?
Mr. Rockman, he called to find out how Hazel was.
All right.
Phone's right there.
Thank you. Hello? 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 He's not there now. What'd he say?
Well, he asked me if I knew how Hazel was. I told him that she was dead, and then I asked him where he was.
Did he tell you?
No. He just said for me to tell people that he was sorry he did it, for me to tell them that he didn't mean it.
Mm-hmm.
He said he didn't mean to kill Hazel.
Well, the way it looks, he didn't do it.
And you better find him right away.
Ma'am?
He thinks he did, and he's going to kill himself.
We talked to the landlady, Ruth Baker, but she was unable to tell us where Herman Rockman was employed. Lily Davis told us that he was a car salesman employed at a lot in the south end of town. We asked Miss Davis to stay by our phone in the event that Rockman called back and to let us know immediately if he did. We found an address book in the desk in the living room of the apartment, and we began to call Rockman's friends and relatives. None of them had seen him or could tell us where he worked. 9:45 p.m. It had been 20 minutes since the husband of the dead woman had called and said that he was going to kill himself. At 9:46 p.m., we contacted a brother-in-law of the dead woman, and he told us that as far as he knew, Rockman had been employed by the Bateman Auto Agency in Gardena. We got the number from information, and I put in the call. Hello, is this the Bateman Auto Agency? Well, this is Sergeant Joe Friday, Los Angeles Police Department. Yes, sir. Do you have a Herman Rockman working for you? Yes, sir, that's right. ROCKM. Uh-huh. I see. When was that? Yeah. You any idea where he's working now? Uh-huh. Yes, sir, I understand. Yeah, well, have you got the number? Fine, yeah. Would you know if they're open this time of night? I see. Okay, all right, sure, I'll hold on. How about it? Says Rockman did work for him. He hasn't seen him in a couple of... Yes, sir. Yeah. Uh-huh. That's 03. Right? Yes, sir. Thanks very much. Says he's heard Rockman's working for a company out on Washington Boulevard now.
Huh.
Left him a couple of weeks ago. Hello. Do you have a Herman Rockman working there? Hello. Hello. Somebody answered. As soon as I asked about Rockman, he hung up.
Think it was him?
There's no way of telling. We better check on it quick.
You got the address?
Yeah, it ought to take us about 5 minutes to get there.
Let's go. We still got a chance.
9:50 p.m. We left the apartment and we drove out Westlake Avenue and turned down to Washington Boulevard. We traveled Code 3, but because of the possibility of alarming Rockman, we turned off the siren 6 blocks from the address of the used car lot. 9:54 p.m. We got to the place. The lot was dark. At the rear and back of a line of cars, we could see a small shack. I hope he's here.
Yeah. No lights on.
Door's locked.
Let's try the side. There's a window around there.
Right.
Can you see anything?
No, the window's dirty. Got your flashlight?
Yeah, here you go.
Give me it.
How about it?
He's in there. Looks like he's out. Come on. Let's hit it.
Right. Full of gas. Fill your flashlight.
Right. I'll get him out of here. You want to get that heater?
Right. The window's stuck. Break it. How about it?
We're still alive. Fresh air should bring him around.
Yeah.
Rockman. Rockman. Come on, Rockman. You're all right. Come on. Sit up.
Why'd you do it? Why'd you stop me?
No reason for you to kill yourself.
I got a reason. I killed Hazel. I didn't mean to. I loved her more than anything. I didn't mean it. I didn't know I hit her that hard.
All right, settle down. Settle down. You didn't kill her, Rockman.
Nobody asked you to come down here. I called you to take care of her. I knew it was too late. I killed her. She's dead, and it's my fault. Why'd you come here? Why'd you stop me?
All right, now take it easy, will you, Rockman? Straighten yourself out here. You didn't kill your wife, Rockman. You understand?
What?
We don't think you killed her. We think she did it herself.
Huh? Oh. Well, she wasn't well. She was sick. She didn't know what she was doing. She did the wrong thing, didn't she? Her way wasn't right. I loved her, very much.
Yes, so we understand.
Doesn't really make any difference. You stop me. No difference.
Sir?
Doesn't make any difference that you stop me. I loved her. There's no difference at all.
How's that?
I died with her.
The story you have just heard is true. The names were changed to protect the innocent.
On June 15th, an inquest was held in the coroner's office in and for the county of Los Angeles. In a moment, the results of that inquest.
Now, here's our star, Jack Webb.
Thank you, George Fenneman. Friends, next Sunday, June 21st, is Father's Day. Your neighborhood dealer has the special Chesterfield Father's Day carton on sale right now. So remember the guy who never forgets you. Don't give him just any cigarette. Give him premium quality Chesterfields, regular or king size. They're best for him.
At the coroner's inquest, it was decided that the wound that killed Hazel Eileen Rockman was self-inflicted. The death was listed as a suicide. Her husband, Herman George Rockman, was not held. You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department. Technical advisors, Captain Jack Donahoe, Sergeant Monty Wynn, Sergeant Vance Brasher. Heard tonight were Ben Alexander, June Whitley, Lillian Bias. Script by John Robinson, Ben Alexander. Music by Walter Schumann. Hal Gibney speaking.
For a million laughs, tune in Chesterfield's Martin and Lewis show, Tuesday on this same NBC station. And sound off for Chesterfield. Either regular or king size, you'll find premium quality Chesterfield much milder. Chesterfield is best for you.
Chesterfield has brought you Dragnet, transcribed from Los Angeles.
Have you tried new cork-tipped Fatima? It's the smooth smoke. Here's why. New Fatima tips of perfect cork, king size for longer filtering, and Fatima quality for a much better flavor and aroma. Remember, Fatima has the tip for your lips. Try new Fatima. See how smooth it is. Fatima is made by the makers of Chesterfield, Liggett & Myers, one of tobacco's most respected names.
Tonight, it's Adventure with Barry Craig on NBC, the national broadcasting company.
Sound off for Chesterfield. Chesterfield, first with premium quality and best for you. Chesterfield brings you Dragnet.
Ladies and gentlemen, the story you're about to hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent. You're a missing persons detail. You get a call that a man is missing. He failed to return from his work the day before. There are no leads to his whereabouts. Your job? Find him. Here is Chesterfield's record with smokers, and important to you.
No adverse effects to the nose, throat, and sinuses from smoking Chesterfield.
That's the report of a doctor who has been examining a group of Chesterfield smokers for a full year and 2 months as a part of a program supervised by a responsible independent research laboratory. Don't you want to try a cigarette with a record like this? Chesterfield. First with premium quality. Chesterfield. First choice of young America. And that's from a survey made in 274 colleges and universities. Try Chesterfields today. Chesterfield. Regular or king size. They're much milder and best for you.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Tuesday, June 16th. It was warm in Los Angeles. We were working the night watch out of Homicide Division, missing persons detail. My partner is Frank Smith. The boss is Chief of Detectives Thad Brown. My name's Friday. I was on my way back to the office, and it was 11:59 p.m. when I got to room 24. Missing persons.
What was his mental condition when you last saw him, Mr. Borg? Where'd you last see him? Was he driving his car? Mm-hmm. And what time was that? Yes, ma'am, but what was the exact time? I see. And your address? On the phone, please. Now, can you think of anything you forgot to tell me? Right. Right. Now, you gave me that before. Mm-hmm. Was your husband a drinking man, ma'am? I see. Okay, Miss Borg, we'll make a check. Call you back. Yes, ma'am, we'll do our best, thanks.
Anything?
Man by the name of Borg missing. I'm sure glad my wife doesn't call for help every time I miss a meal. Trouble with most guys is they let a woman keep tabs on them, check on everything they do.
Let me see that 9-7, will you?
Yeah, there you go. It's everything his wife gave me.
When you get the jails and records, I'll check Georgia Street County Hospital in the morgue. Looked like a routine investigation. Lots of things can keep a man from getting home. A few drinks, sick friend, unexpected business conference, a flat tire on an isolated road, maybe just boredom. But there are other things that can keep a man from getting home. It had to be checked out. Henry Borg, 51, male, white American, address 1571 East Berendo Street, had failed to return home at the usual time on Monday. His wife called one of the men he worked with and found that he hadn't been at work all day that day. He still hadn't come home the next afternoon. She called us. I checked the Gaga file to see if he was one of our regular customers, mental case or alcoholic. He wasn't. Frank and I checked the jails, the hospitals, and the morgue. They had no record of him there. No John Does fitting his description. And Borg had no criminal record. We could assume that he was at least alive. Frank called Mrs. Borg back, told her not to worry, and asked her to call us immediately if she heard from her husband. Wednesday, 3:10 p.m., still no word of Henry Borg. The day watch had made another check of the jails, the hospitals, and the morgue. Mrs. Borg called 3 times. The day watch officer's notes described her as very upset. I called her back and asked her to come in the next day to file a missing persons report. I asked her also to bring in the best picture she had of her husband. Thursday, 2:40 p.m. Mrs. Borg was waiting with Frank when I got to work. She'd already filled out the Form 316. She was holding an aging Pekingese dog in her arms.
Joe, this is Mrs. Borg.
How are you, ma'am?
My partner, Joe Friday, ma'am.
Hello, Officer Friday. I talked to Mr. Smith and filled out the paper. Here's that picture you wanted.
Oh, yes. Thank you very much, ma'am.
It's a good likeness.
Mm-hmm. Now, Miss Borg, I see here that you haven't put anything down under personal habits for your husband.
Well, I don't understand.
Well, does your husband drink at all, ma'am?
Henry? No. He takes a glass of beer with his supper when he comes home, but he's not what a person would call a drinking person.
Gamble?
Gamble?
Yes, ma'am. Cards, dice, horses?
Oh, I should say not. He never does nothing like that.
You've never known him to gamble at all, then?
Henry? I should say not.
Now, Miss Borg, you say here that your husband has no relative.
Oh, only brother Ed, older brother, but I didn't put him down. We don't know where he lives. Haven't heard a word about him 9-10 years.
Mm-hmm. What about your family? Your husband friendly with your family?
My family hasn't spoke to me since the day I married Henry Borg.
Mrs. Borg, I see you only have one friend listed, a Hal Bishop. That's the man your husband rode to work with, isn't it?
Yes.
Do you know Mr. Bishop's address?
No, I don't.
Did your husband ride to work with Bishop every day? You say he left his car at home Monday. Did he ever drive it to work?
Well, he usually drove our car, but then he'd ride with Mr. Bishop pretty often, too. I didn't think anything about it. It didn't seem like anything.
Well, did your husband spend much time with this Bishop?
Oh, just work. Henry used to like to spend his free time with me.
All right, now, ma'am, please don't get upset here. Did your husband have any financial problems, debts that were worrying him?
Financial difficulties, like bills and things? Oh, no, Henry always took care of it.
Do you think there might have been anything you didn't know about that was worrying him?
Officer, if Henry was worried about anything, I'd have known it. He'd have told me for sure.
Mm-hmm. Now, what about your home? Do you own it?
What do you mean?
Was there a mortgage on it, I mean?
Yes.
Do you have the pink slip on your car?
No.
Was it possible that your husband was behind in the payments?
No, he would have told me.
Or did he owe money down where he worked?
No, not that I know of.
His job, maybe. Was he worried about that?
Mr. Snyder, that's his boss. Well, he always said Henry would have a job as long as he was in the contracting business. Henry makes good wages.
Mm-hmm. You say here his mental condition was good. Has that ever been poor? You ever know your husband to black out?
How do you mean, black out?
Well, has he ever suffered from lapse of memory? Is there any history of epilepsy in his family?
History of epilepsy? Oh, no, not Henry. Why, he's a healthy man. He hasn't had a sick day.
Now, Miss Borg, have you and your husband been getting along lately?
What do you mean by a thing like that, officer? You think Henry and I had a fight, and that's why he left. Is that what you think?
No, ma'am. We don't think anything here, but these are the things we have to check out.
Well, it's a waste of time. Don't you think I'd have already told you that? If Henry and I'd had a fight, I'd have told you first off. It's the first thing I'd have said.
Yes, ma'am.
Something's happened to my husband, officer. I just know it. Something's happened to him.
Did you and your husband go out together much, ma'am?
Well, one night last month we went to the Coconut Grove, there in the Ambassador Hotel. And we used to go up the movies pretty regular.
Was he in the habit of leaving the house at night alone?
No. Just when he went out with Francine.
Francine?
Yes, our Pekingese here.
3:55 p.m., Thursday, June 18th. Began to look as if Henry Borg was in trouble. From what we'd been told, he wasn't a man who had just suddenly decided to leave home. We had to find out if the facts we'd been given were accurate. Thursday, 4:10 p.m. We contacted Borg's friend, Hal Bishop, just as he was leaving the construction job where they both worked. He said he hadn't gone by Borg's house to pick him up Monday because Borg hadn't asked him to. The way they worked it, Borg always told him the day before if he wanted to ride. At first, Bishop said he hadn't noticed anything strange about Borg recently. Then he decided Borg had been a little irritable the last few days. Said it wasn't like him to be irritable. That he'd never known Borg to miss work before, and that he'd never heard of any trouble between Borg and his wife. He said that Borg didn't talk much about his wife. We called on the neighbors of the Borgs. They said nothing to indicate any flaws in Mrs. Borg's story. Henry and Martha Borg were average people in an average neighborhood. He went to work every morning at 7 a.m. Came home at 5:15. His neighbors didn't know much about him. He was a quiet man. They lived in the same house for 13 years. Martha Borg was 47, maybe 48. They never had visitors. After 13 years in the same neighborhood, she apparently had no close friends. Two of her neighbors had noticed that in the past year, Martha Borg would leave her house 3 or 4 times a week at 11 a.m. Always at 11 a.m. She invariably got back before her husband did. The neighbors said she usually brought some shopping home with her. They did go out frequently in the evenings. However, there were no reports of family trouble between Martha and Henry Borg. Thursday, 6:20 p.m. We talked to Adolph Wernicke, whose grocery store was on the corner a half a block from the Borg home. They'd been trading with him ever since they moved to the neighborhood.
I don't know what to tell you about Mr. Borg, officer. He always seemed like a nice fellow to me. Didn't say much, but nice. Sure is funny, him disappearing like that.
You got any idea if he had any trouble with his wife?
No, that wife, she's a funny one. Different from Mr. Borg as day and night.
Well, how's that, sir?
Oh, I don't know. High hat, sort of. She's all right, I guess. Kind of show-off, though. Kind of person who dresses up when she goes shopping around the corner. Likes to buy fancy groceries. Stuff I never get calls for. Like those anchovies up there on the shelf. Now, I'll bet you I won't sell 2 cans of them in a year, but Mrs. Borg comes in and she'll buy them. Now, Mr. Borg, he don't like that kind of stuff at all. Told me so himself.
Yes, sir, but how'd they get along? Do you ever say anything about his wife?
To tell you the truth, officer, I don't know. As far as a man and his wife arguing, I don't pry. Hurts business. Come to think of it, he did say one thing. That was a long time ago, about 2-3 months ago, maybe more.
What was that? What did he say?
Well, he came in here, just about like this time it was. Didn't buy anything, just kind of hung around. Remember, he seemed down to sorts. I asked him if he was feeling all right. Said he was. Just felt like he had to get away from the house. Now, that'll happen to a man. Just feel like you got to get away for a while. You know what I mean, officer.
No, sir, I'm not married. Thursday, 7:50 p.m. Borg's description and the circumstances of his disappearance have been broadcast to all units. Still no word. 4:10 p.m., Friday, June 19th. We checked Borg's union. He hadn't reported for a new job. We filed an all-points bulletin. 8:05 p.m. I checked back into the office. Mrs. Borg was waiting.
Sergeant Friday, I'd like to know just what's going on around here. My husband has been missing almost a week, and I don't see why something hasn't been done about it. If you can't find my husband, then why don't they put more men on this case? This is a terrible thing. I'm a woman alone, and the police haven't done a single thing. My husband may be dead. He may be dead, and nobody's doing anything about it.
In my work, you hear it every day, but you can't get mad. It's against regulations, and you can't blame them either. They're in trouble, so you let them talk. You try to explain. They don't listen, but you try.
Well, we're doing all we can, ma'am.
They're always talking these days about giving policemen more money. It seems to me there are certain policemen who aren't even earning the money they get right now.
Yes, ma'am.
What are you doing for my husband?
Miss Borg, here's the file on it. Now, we've made regular checks on the hospitals, the jails, and the morgues. Thursday night, when you came in to file that Form 316, we had a complete description of your husband broadcast to all radio units in the city. It was teletyped to every police division. Today, we sent out an all-points bulletin over the state wire. Every police department, sheriff's office, and highway patrol unit in the state knows that your husband is missing. Here, you can see the bulletin right here, ma'am. Now, in these cases, ma'am, we start with nothing. We don't know where they've gone or why they've gone. Most of them turn up by themselves. Some of them don't. We do everything we can to find the ones that don't. Miss Borg, there are 4,000 police officers in this city looking for your husband. 8:57 p.m. When we thought Mrs. Borg was feeling better, we sent her home. We reminded her again to notify us immediately if she heard from her husband. 9:10 p.m. The desk at Central called and told us that they'd picked up a John Doe. From what they said, he apparently was suffering from amnesia. While I went down to Homicide to check out some reports, Frank went over to Central to see the man they picked up. 9:16 p.m. Frank came back to the office.
Joe?
Yeah.
Just checked out that John Doe at Central.
Anything on him?
Yeah, it's Henry Borg.
You are listening to Dragnet, the authentic story of your police force in action.
Years ahead of them all.
Chesterfield is years ahead of all cigarettes.
Chesterfield quality is highest.
Here's the proof. Recent chemical analyses give an index of good quality for the country's 6 leading cigarette brands. The index of good quality table, which is a ratio of high sugar to low nicotine, shows Chesterfield quality highest.
Chesterfield quality highest.
15% higher than its nearest competitor.
Chesterfield quality highest.
31% higher than the average of the 5 other leading brands. Don't you want to try a cigarette with a record like this?
Chesterfield. First with premium quality and best for you.
Try Chesterfield today. Regular or king size.
9:18 p.m. Officers Gorman and Mayer brought in Henry Borg, alias John Doe. They found him wandering around in the 900 block down on South Spring Street, the financial district. Wasn't much reason for anybody to be loitering around there at that time of night. All the businesses in the area were closed. The officers investigated. When they questioned the suspect, he would not or could not reply. They took him to Central Division, where the watch commander, Lieutenant Hale, had him shaken down. His wallet was missing. No papers, no identification. In his pockets, the officers found 8 cents, a key ring, and several keys. No cigarettes, no matches. He was dressed in a good quality worsted suit, very rumpled. No tie, no hat. Gorman and Mayer had rolled his prints at the city hall and sent them to Leighton Prince for classification. During this time, no one let him know that we had any idea who he was. The two officers that had picked him up stood by. Frank and I walked over to where he was sitting.
Do you know who you are?
Feel sick? Been drinking, maybe? Did you have a rough night? Look, if you can talk, mister, I think you better make things a lot simpler here. We're trying to help you. How about telling us who you are?
Maybe there's something wrong with you, mister, but we don't think so. We want to know who you are. We want you to tell us. If you don't, the only thing we can do is let them book you at city jail as a John Doe. That's the law. Now, look, if you're trying to hide something, if you're wanted, we're going to know it in a few minutes anyhow. If you want to wait, we'll wait it out with you. You want us to think you're an amnesia case, is that it? Well, maybe you got a good reason, but it won't work. I've been in this department a long time. I've seen a lot of phony amnesia cases. I've only seen one real one, and he didn't act like you. You want to know what I think? I think you're pulling a phony.
Come on, how about it, mister? I get it. Missing persons, friend. All right. Yeah. You bet. Thanks very much. Right. Okay. That was Leighton Prince, mister. They got your fingerprints classified. Now, we know you're not wanted for anything.
Look, we know you're not a bum. Your clothes are good, and you look like a guy who takes good care of himself.
A man like you doesn't walk around without a wallet.
What happened to you?
You got a problem? Tell us about it. Maybe we can help you. Now, why don't you tell us who you are?
You probably got a wife. She must be mighty worried about you right now.
All right. Book him.
I lost my wallet.
How?
I don't know how.
Where?
I don't know where I've been.
Now, you listen to me, mister. We want to know who you are. We want to know where you've been. We want to know right now.
I don't know who I am.
Let me see your hands.
What?
Your hands. Come on, hold them up. Let me see them. That's it. Now, I'm going to tell you something about yourself, mister. You work for a living, don't you? Hard work with your hands.
Like a mason, maybe, huh?
Yeah, maybe you're a mason or a hod carrier. You could be a painter, some kind of construction work, I'd say. Something like a plasterer, for instance, huh?
You couldn't be a plasterer by any chance, could you, mister?
I don't know.
Okay. You ready to talk to us now, Henry?
I wasn't trying to fool you. I was only trying to fool myself.
Now, we've been looking for you since Tuesday, Borg.
Your wife's pretty worried.
I'm not going back. No matter what you do, I'm not going back.
We're not going to make you go back. That's up to you, Borg.
All they pay us for, mister, is to find you, to make sure you're okay. None of our business if you go back.
I'm not going back.
All right, now, look, you're pretty upset, Borg. Why don't you tell us about it?
It's crazy. It's crazy what I did. It doesn't make any sense. You fellas, you wouldn't be interested. Maybe I'll just go if it's all right with you. I'll just go.
Yeah, it's all right. It's okay if you want to. Look, we're going to be around here another hour. We haven't got much to do. Our work's all cleaned up. We're just about ready to go home. Why don't you stick around and talk to us, huh? We'd kind of like to hear what happened.
Yeah. Just might help you clear things up in your mind if you talked about it.
Oh, it's crazy. I know it's crazy, but I guess I do want to tell somebody about it.
How about a cigarette? Will that help?
Yeah.
Here, I'll give you a match.
I am a man 50 years old. I work hard. I learned my trade as a boy of 16. I've been at it ever since. My wife and me, we got a new car. We got our own home, almost paid for. A man my age, when he gets home nights, he wants to take it easy. Read the paper, watch the television. Bought a $400 TV, 21-inch screen.
Yeah.
You want to know what happens when I get home? She wants to go out. It don't make any difference how tired I am. It don't make any difference if I've been working hard all day. She wants to go out. Do you know what that's like?
Well, it doesn't sound like the reason a man would leave home, boy.
I don't mind it once in a while, if it was just once in a while, but she's after me every minute I'm home. Here for the last few years, it's been every night. I don't know what's come over her. She didn't used to be like that. Martha used to be a sensible woman. Now she acts silly like a young girl. She's different. Goes in for fancy clothes, all kinds of fancy food, even anchovies. And I don't like anchovies. Last month, I swear, she even made me take her down to the Ambassador Hotel. Imagine me at the Ambassador Hotel. All I ever hear from her is we've just got a few years left to have our fling. I don't want any fling. I'm a plasterer. That's hard work. I get home, I want to rest. It isn't like I cared if she goes out. She goes to the movies almost every day. Goes before noon, she tells me, before the prices go up. I don't care about the money. I want her to have a good time, the clothes, the things like that. I don't care. I love my wife. I guess you think I'm crazy after what I did, but I love my wife.
I see, sir.
And that dog, that Francine. What kind of a name is that for a dog? You ought to hear her talk to it like it was a person.
Well, how long you had the dog, Borg?
I don't know. 2, 3 years.
Well, the reason I ask seems funny that you just decided to leave home last Monday. Dog's been around 2 or 3 years. The ambassador thing was last month, you said.
Well, what did it? It was the lessons.
Lessons?
The dancing lessons.
What?
But there's this social club up around Pico and Figueroa. People go there to dance. People our age, she says. Only I can't dance. That's when she gets this idea I got to take dancing lessons. Did you ever hear of anything like that? A man my age has got to take dancing lessons?
That's when you left.
That was Sunday afternoon, when she got this idea. She kept picking at me all afternoon. It really got me. I thought about it all night. I couldn't sleep. Monday morning, I just didn't go to work. I got drunk instead. Got sick, too. Just couldn't think of anything else to do. I guess you know the rest. I lost my tie, my wallet, lost my hat, too. And they picked me up. I was just kind of wandering around when they picked me up. Seems like a shame when a man can't even go home.
Mm-hmm. You sure you don't want to go home now, Borg? Maybe if you talk things over with your wife.
No, it wouldn't do any good. Nothing I could say to her would do any good. I can't go home.
Well, it sure has been interesting hearing you talk, Mr. Borg. It's almost like hearing somebody tell about me, remember, Joe?
Yeah.
You had something like this?
Had it. With me, it was canasta, though. I hate cards, a waste of time. Yeah, I sure thought it was the end for me and Fay. Remember, Joe?
But it wasn't?
No, for a while there, it sure looked like I was going to lose my happy home. Guess I would have, too, but I talked turkey to her. You know what I mean, Borg?
No. What do you mean?
Talk turkey to him. Make him understand. You let a woman push you around, Borg, you're dead.
Well, with Martha...
Look, they're all the same. I sat her right down on the sofa, and I said, now, look, Fay. And I told her what the score was. She took it, too. It's the only way to do. You try what I say, Borg. You'll see I'm right.
I can just see Martha if I ever tried to put my foot down.
That's what I thought. I was all set to give it up. Move in with Joe here, right, Joe?
Yeah.
Then I figured I might as well at least get a load off my chest. Once I got started, I lost my temper. You know, it's a funny thing. Fay's always thought more of me since then. You ask her. She'll tell you so herself. Says she respects a man who'll stand up for his own rights. Right, Joe?
Yeah.
I don't know. With me, I don't think it would work.
Sure it can. Now, Borg, you listen to me. You tell her you're a working man. Tell her when you get through work, you want to take it easy, and nobody's going to run you. Set her straight, Borg. Get tough if you have to. She won't give you any trouble after that.
I just don't know. Martha...
Won't do any harm to try it.
I'd like to see Martha's face just once if I even told her to shut up. I wouldn't want her to have anything handy to throw.
Borg, look, it's 12:10. We got to be getting home now. You take my advice. You go home, too. Have a talk with her. See if you can't work it out.
No, Sergeant. Thanks a lot, but I can't go home.
Well, like I told you, it's none of our business, but I think you ought to try it.
Well...
Here. Now, look, you're going to need car fare. Here's $1. You take this and go on home. That'll get you there.
Okay. You'll get this back, Sergeant. I'll pay it back to you. I guess maybe you're right. Can't hurt anything to try it.
That's the stuff.
Thank you a lot. I didn't mean to put you fellas out this way.
Good luck to you, Borg.
You'll see. It'll work.
Maybe it'll work. Well... But I don't know. Martha...
I'll get out a cancellation, Joe. That should wrap it up, huh?
Yeah.
What time did you say it was?
It's 12:10.
Yeah. Well, Joe, I better make a phone call first.
This time of night? Why? What's the matter?
I just remembered I told Fay I'd call her.
Friday, July 28th. A month had passed since Henry Borg had left our office to go home. We'd heard nothing further from him or his wife, and we assumed that they had reconciled their problems. 6:10 p.m.
Officers?
Oh, hello there, Borg. Nice to see you again.
Hi, Borg.
I was afraid maybe you fellas wouldn't remember me. It's been a while. I tried to get out and see you before this.
Well, fine. How are things going?
Did it work out like it said?
I brought you something, Sergeant. Some cigarettes for both of you. Like you to have them. I hope it's the right brand.
Well, yes, sir. That's the right brand, all right, but you don't owe us anything.
I want you to have them.
That's all right, sir. You keep them.
All right. Well, anyway, here's that $1, the one you loaned me.
Okay, Borg. Thanks very much.
I sure owe you fellas a lot, and I really mean it. My wife and I, we sure appreciate what you fellas did for us. Was that clock right?
Yes, sir.
Uh-oh, gotta rush. Got an appointment. Be late if I don't hurry.
Appointment?
Yeah. Gotta get over to Arthur Murray.
The story you have just heard is true. The names were changed to protect the innocent.
On July 31st, a meeting was held in the office of the captain of homicide. In a moment, the results of that meeting.
Now, here is our star, Jack Webb.
Thank you, George Fenneman. Friends, we hope you've been listening to Dragnet regularly, and we hope you've tried our Chesterfields. If you haven't tried them yet, then tomorrow's your day. Get a carton, regular or king size. It only takes one carton of Chesterfields to show you why Chesterfield is best for you. Believe me, they're much milder with a wonderful taste. America's best cigarette buy, Chesterfield.
Since the subject, Henry George Borg, had committed no crime, he was not held, and the case was officially marked closed. You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department. Technical advisors, Captain Jack Donahoe, Sergeant Marty Wynn, Sergeant Vance Frazier. Heard tonight were Ben Alexander, Vic Perrin, Irene Tedrow. Script by Paul Coates. Music by Walter Schumann. Hal Gibney speaking.
For a million laughs, tune in Chesterfield's Martin and Lewis show Tuesday on this same NBC station. And sound off for Chesterfields, either regular or king size. You'll find premium quality Chesterfields much milder. Chesterfield is best for you.
By special request, Dragnet is being sent to our servicemen and women all over the world. Chesterfield has brought you Dragnet, transcribed from Los Angeles.
Have you tried new cork-tipped Fatima? It's the smooth smoke. Here's why. New Fatima tips of perfect cork, king size for longer filtering, and Fatima quality for a much better flavor and aroma. Remember, Fatima has the tip for your lips. Try new Fatima. See how smooth it is. Fatima is made by the makers of Chesterfield, Liggett & Myers, one of tobacco's most respected names.
Tonight, it's Adventure with Barry Craig on NBC, the national broadcasting company.
Sound off for Chesterfield. Chesterfield, first with premium quality and best for you. Chesterfield brings you Dragnet.
Ladies and gentlemen, the story you are about to hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent. You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to homicide detail. A young girl has been shot with a .22 caliber rifle. It was reported as suicide. Your job, investigate. Here is Chesterfield's record with smokers, and important to you.
No adverse effects to the nose, throat, and sinuses from smoking Chesterfield.
That's the report of a doctor who has been examining a group of Chesterfield smokers for a full year and 2 months as a part of a program supervised by a responsible independent research laboratory. Don't you want to try a cigarette with a record like this? Chesterfield. First with premium quality. Chesterfield. First choice of young America. And that's from a survey made in 274 colleges and universities. Try Chesterfields today. Chesterfield. Regular or king size. They're much milder and best for you.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Monday, June 8th. It was warm in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch on a homicide detail. My partner's Frank Smith. The boss is Captain Warman. My name's Friday. I was on my way into the office, and it was 8:03 a.m. when I checked into room 42. Homicide.
Joe?
Yeah.
Back here in the skipper's office. Ray Geesey wants to talk to
All
you.
right.
Morning, Joe.
Hi, Ray. What do you got?
Suicide.
Anything on it?
Here's the report. Team from the business office went out last night. Get on it right away, will you?
Right. Let's go. Huh?
Yeah.
Want to check this stuff before we get started?
Might as well give us an idea what we got to do. What's the report say there you got?
Let's see. According to this, business office got a call at 2:30 this morning. A landlady out in the Westlake Park district called in and said that this young girl had committed suicide.
They get an ID on her?
No, they got her listed as Jane Doe, number 17. There's a description here.
Better check it with missing persons, huh?
Uh-huh.
How'd the landlady happen to find the body?
Well, according to the report, she heard the water running in the apartment, finally went up to see what it was. She knocked on the door, nobody answered. She opened it and went in, found the body.
Well, the girl didn't live in the apartment then?
No, place is rented to a Ross Mitchell.
Anything on him?
No, says he wasn't home. He was checked through R&I, no make on him.
How about prints on the victim?
No go. Checked him out. Nothing on her here. We can send him on to Washington.
Yeah.
And they found a suicide note. There's a copy of it here.
What's it say?
Ross, I've tried to make you understand. Nothing seems to do any good. I've told you that I won't stand in the way of your career, but you don't want to try to make a go of it. I know this doesn't solve anything. It's the only way I can think of.
Any signature?
No. The report says that the original copy's over at the crime lab for processing.
Well, I guess we better start with the landlady, huh?
It's the best lead we got. Galindo and Bates are out there now. Place was staked right away.
Friday, you want to take two?
Right, thanks, Ray. It's Friday talking. Yeah. Uh-huh. No, we just got it. Was that right? Okay, Max. No, have him wait there, will you? No, we'll be right over. Right, thank you. Well, it's a little break. Max over at the coroner's office says they know who the girl is.
Yeah?
Her father just identified the body. 8:14 a.m. We left the city hall and we went over to the Hall of Justice. We met the victim's father, a Mr. Robert Andrews Paul. He told us that there could be no mistake. The body was that of his daughter, Gloria Z. Paul. The attendant had given him some smelling salts, and after introducing us, he'd left to close off the viewing room.
I don't understand why she'd do it. None of it makes sense.
Well, when did you see your daughter last, Mr. Paul?
Saturday afternoon. That was the last time. I never saw her again.
She was gone Saturday night and all day yesterday, is that it?
Yeah.
You hear from her at all?
No.
Weren't you worried about her at all?
No, sometimes she doesn't come home, stays with a girlfriend, but when I didn't hear from her last night, I got worried, started calling around.
She'd say where she was going when she left?
Told me she was going over to see Peggy. Said the two of them were going to a show and that she'd be home for dinner short.
Well, who is this Peggy?
Peggy Rockwell, a friend of Gloria's.
Uh-huh. Have you talked to her?
What?
I say, have you talked to this Peggy since your daughter disappeared?
Yes, I called her last night. I talked to her then. I was most out of my mind. I didn't know what to do. I talked to her last night. She didn't know.
Does your daughter know anybody named Ross Mitchell?
Ross Mitchell? No, I don't think I've ever heard the name. Why do you ask that?
Oh, just wondered.
You know something about this you're not telling me, is that it?
No, sir, we don't.
Well, it must be something like that. You don't just come up with a name like that out of thin air. You got to have a reason. Now, look, I'm her father. I got a right to know.
All night sitting there waiting for the phone to ring, calling her friends, thinking she's been in an accident, imagining all kinds of things. If you know something, you should tell me. I've got to know. How am I going to tell her mother? Poor woman's almost dead with worry. She doesn't know about this. All she knows is that the baby's gone, that's all. The baby's gone. Gloria is dead. I don't know what to do.
All right, Mr. Paul, try to take it easy.
I'm sorry if you got a cigarette.
Yes, sir. Here you go. Here, I'll give you a light.
I'm sorry about that.
It's all right, sir. We understand. Now, do you think you can give us an address where we can talk to this Peggy Rockwell?
Yeah, she works at a restaurant over on 7th. I've got her home address, too, if you want it.
Yes, sir. We hope you'll understand this, Mr. Paul. We don't mean any offense here.
What's that?
Did your daughter have any steady boyfriends that you know about?
No, I don't think so. No one that she went with steady.
No one man she liked more than the others?
I think there was. I don't know who. Her mother asked her about it a couple of times, wanted to know who the fellow was, but Gloria'd never say. Just said that it wasn't serious, it didn't matter.
How'd you seem to get along with this man, would you know?
All right, I guess. I told you I never saw him. I didn't know who he was. But whenever Gloria had a date with him, she acted like it was something special.
Did your daughter have a job?
Not regular. She used to model once in a while, and then maybe she'd pick up a day's work in pictures, not much.
Mm-hmm. Can you think of any reason why she'd want to take her own life?
No. She seemed pretty happy, never gave any indication there was anything wrong.
Has she been ill lately under a doctor's care?
No, not that I know about.
Well, Mr. Paul, is it possible she might have been seeing a doctor and you wouldn't know about it?
No, her mother would have known. She'd have told me. No, I'm pretty sure she was feeling all right.
Anything about her job that bothered her?
What do you mean?
Well, was she happy with what she was doing, the kind of work she was doing?
Oh, yeah. Gloria didn't want a career. She was looking for a husband, one to settle down and raise a family.
Mm-hmm. Well, can you think of anything at all that might make her want to take her own life, as I asked you before?
I can't understand it. None of it makes any sense to me. Where she was found, she didn't know anybody in that part of town. I don't know what she'd be doing over there.
Did she drink?
I don't think I understand.
Well, did she drink much, sir? At bars, cocktail lounges?
No, she didn't. Now, Gloria was a good girl. She didn't drink or smoke. She was a good girl, and I don't understand all this. First, this thing with Ross, and now you want to know if she drinks. I don't know what you're trying to get at, but I don't like it. You're trying to make Gloria something that she isn't. She's a good girl, always has been. Just a home and family, that's all she wanted, nothing more. I don't know why you're asking me all these questions. I'm her father. You're the police. It's up to you to find the reason. That's your job. Not to come around and say things about my girl.
I'm sorry. We're not saying anything, Mr. Paul.
You are, too. You're trying to make me believe that Gloria wasn't a nice girl. Now, I know different. I raised her since she was a baby, gave her all the care I could. I don't know why she'd do a thing like this.
You don't?
No. Why ask me these questions?
Well, sir, you said it yourself.
Huh?
You're her father. We continued to talk to the father of the victim. From him, we got a list of the girl's friends, the address, and the names of the people that she worked for. While we were talking to him, he was unable to give us any idea as to why his daughter, Gloria Paul, might want to take her own life. He insisted that he didn't know anybody or any one of his daughter's acquaintances named Ross Mitchell. A telephone call was put through to his wife, but she was unable to tell us who the man was. 8:20 a.m., Mr. Paul recovered from the initial shock, and he went home. 8:39 a.m., we drove over to the rooming house where Gloria Paul had been found. On the way, we stopped to call the crime lab to see if they'd been able to come up with anything in the dead girl's effects to help us. Lieutenant Lee Jones at the lab told us that they hadn't finished their investigation yet. 8:50 a.m., we arrived at the house and talked with the landlady, Thelma Keene.
It's terrible. Poor little thing.
You haven't seen Ross Mitchell yet, is that?
No, he hasn't come in. I told the officers last night that I didn't expect him until noon today.
Have you seen the girl before?
Once in a while, she'd come in with Ross, wait for him, and then they'd go right out.
Did you see her last night, son?
I told the officers that were here last night that I didn't. Didn't you talk to them at all?
Well, yes, ma'am. We have the report they filed, Mrs. Keene, but we'd like to get some additional facts from you.
It seems like a waste of time, but I suppose you have to.
Yes, ma'am. Do you have any idea when she might have come in?
No, not the slightest.
When was the last time you saw Mitchell?
Saturday around noon, he came in and told me that he'd be out of town over the weekend. Said for me to keep an eye on the place.
Yes, ma'am. Did he tell you where he was going?
He said he was going to visit an assistant director friend of his over in La Piñata.
Did he say what the friend's name was?
No, they're working on a picture together. Ross just met him the other day. Asked him out for the weekend. Ross was very good at making friends.
Mm-hmm. Do you know where he's working?
No. Ross just said it was a sea adventure. Doing it in full color. 3D, too. I guess it's going to be quite a spectacle. They didn't have all the gimmicks in my day.
Ma'am?
Didn't have 3D or the other things. In my day, we acted. We knew how to act. from the heart. These youngsters are good flack, can make a star out of anybody. Oh, things have changed. And here, this one. That's me with the pith helmet. This was made over on Catalina Island. We were shooting a jungle picture. We acted. No doubles for us, real actors.
When was this, ma'am?
A few years ago. Now, why are you asking all these questions about Ross?
Well, the note the girl left was addressed to him.
That doesn't mean anything. Just some lovesick girl. Doesn't mean Ross had anything to do with it.
How'd you happen to find the body?
I went to bed about 10:30. They were running one of my old movies on TV, and I stayed up to see it. You happened to catch it? A thing called The Floods Will Come. I made it over at Catalina. It starred Nick Benton, real movie idol. Here's one of the stills from the picture.
Yes, ma'am.
Here's the whole company. That's me. And that's Nick with the puttees. He'd put on a little weight. I remember he had to do road work while we were there to trim down. Held the company up for a week. A grand picture. They didn't do it right on television, though. Looked a little corny. I guess the way they ran it through the machines. You know, we all looked pasty. Even Nick.
Yes, ma'am. Would you go on, please?
Well, after I saw the rest of the picture, I went up to the kitchen, got a bowl of shredded wheat to eat in bed, came back to the bedroom, and I heard this noise.
What noise was that, ma'am?
Like somebody was running water in one of the taps. Went on and on. Pretty soon it started to bother me. I couldn't understand it. Finally, I went up to see who it was. Noise came from Ross's apartment. I knocked, but there wasn't any answer, so I unlocked the door and went in. I thought something was wrong. That's when I saw her.
I see.
She was lying on bed. Right away, I called the police.
Before you went up, did you hear any other noises? Any sound of a struggle, anything like that, maybe?
No, just the water running.
Well, how about the shot, ma'am? You hear that?
No, I didn't. A lot of shooting in the picture I was watching.
Did you touch anything in the room?
No, I turned the lights, but that's all. The room was dark when I went in. Just turned on the lights, and then I called you.
According to our report, there wasn't any purse found with the body. Did you see one when you went in there?
I didn't. But if I had, you'd gotten it. What are you trying to say? That I stole her purse? Is that what you're trying to say?
No, ma'am, that's not what we're trying to say.
Better not. I've got a reputation in this town. I know a lot of big people. I'm not going to have you come in here and call me a thief.
Well, we didn't mean to offend you, ma'am.
Who has a key to Mitchell's place besides him, ma'am?
No one. He's got the only one. I don't like a lot of keys to the rooms out. I tell all the tenants that.
Have you got any idea how the girl might have gotten into the room?
No.
Do you know who the gun belonged to?
Yes, it was Ross's.
You pretty sure about that, are you?
Yes, I saw it when he moved in. Commented on it then. He said that he'd had it since he was a kid. Kept it out of sentiment. What's this all about, anyway? You seem to think that there's something wrong. Is that it?
No, ma'am. It's just that in things like this, we have to make a complete investigation. You can understand.
Oh, well, I want to do all I can to help you, but I do have an appointment. If there's nothing more you want, I'd like to be going.
That's all right, Miss Keene. If we want to talk to you, we'll be able to reach you here?
Yes, right here.
We'll give you a call to tell you about the inquest.
Am I going to have to be there?
Yes, ma'am. You and Mitchell.
Why him?
Well, it was his apartment, ma'am.
But he didn't have anything to do with
Well,
it.
maybe so, ma'am, but he'll still have to be there.
It's not fair. A thing like this can ruin him. By the time the papers get through with it, he'll be finished. It can ruin his career. He doesn't know anything about it. He won't be able to tell you anything.
You're wrong there, ma'am.
Huh?
He's got a lot to explain. We went upstairs and met the officer staked out in the room and looked at the apartment where the girl had been found. 9:20 a.m. We gave our card to Thelma Keene and asked her to call us if she thought of anything else. We also asked her to notify us immediately in the event she heard from Mitchell. The stakeout on the room continued. 9:52 a.m. We drove over to the coffee shop on West 7th Street to talk to the girl's friend, Peggy Rockwell. We found her in the back of the place typing out the day's menus.
What about Gloria? Something wrong?
When was the last time you saw her, miss?
Well, let's see. Saturday night, she stayed at my house. Left about noon on Sunday. I had the day off. Figured that maybe we'd do something, but Gloria said she had something to do. Last I saw her was on Sunday morning.
You know a man named Ross Mitchell?
That bum.
Why do you say that, Miss Rockwell?
'Cause he is real no good.
You pretty friendly with Miss Paul?
Well, Gloria thought so. Turned out he was just using her.
Well, how do you mean?
Thought at first she could get him some jobs. Turned out when he could do better, he dropped her. They were going to get married, and then he thought he could do better, so he dropped her. Say, do you mind if I go ahead with these menus? The boss will be sore if I don't get through with them.
No, you go right ahead, miss.
We can talk while I'm doing it.
Yes, ma'am.
I took a course once, touch typing. Didn't think I'd ever use it. Boy, was I fooled.
You go right ahead, miss.
Well, this Ross really gave her the rush. Had her take him around, introduce him to her friends. She got him a couple of jobs. She's the one who introduced him to Mike.
Mike?
Yeah, Mike Cowell. That's Ross's agent. Peggy set it up. She's done just about everything for him. Then the bum acts like this.
What do you mean, miss?
Treated her so bad. Say, how do you spell croquettes?
Well, I think it's Croquettes.
O-Q-E-T-T-E-S. Turkey. They had roast turkey last night. I don't understand how people can eat them, but we sure sell a lot of them.
Did Miss Paul say she was going to see Ross over the weekend?
Yeah. She said she had an appointment with him Sunday. Said she'd called him and set it up.
You know what time?
No, just said she wasn't going on like this. Had to be straightened out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't blame her. She's told her friends they were going to get married, and at the last minute, Ross would back out.
Her family know about Ross?
No. Father didn't mind her doing a little work in show business, but he didn't want her to marry anyone in it. She thought that if they just got married, then the family'd understand.
Joe.
Yeah.
I'll call the crime lab, see if they've finished.
Yeah, fine, thanks. How'd Miss Paul and Mitchell seem to get along, ma'am?
What do you mean?
Well, did they have any arguments or disagreements, would you know?
Not often. Most of the trouble they had was about getting married. Ross kept saying that it wouldn't do him any good to be married now. He thought that it might hurt his career. That's all he thought about.
Were you ever present at any of these arguments?
Once. We'd gone out on a double date, went to a place down at the beach, had dinner, and then stopped on the way back for a couple of drinks.
Uh-huh.
Ross got pretty drunk, got into a big thing about his career.
Yeah.
He went on and on about how hard he'd worked, how much the theater meant to him, all that kind of stuff.
I see.
Finally, he said right out that he'd kill anyone who tried to stop him, just like that. He'd kill anyone who tried to stop him.
Joe.
Yeah.
See you a minute.
Would you excuse me, please?
Sure. Just a minute. Is there one L or two L's in broccoli?
Just one, ma'am.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Just talked to Lee Jones.
Yeah, did you finish up?
Yeah, something's wrong.
What's that?
He thinks the girl was murdered.
You are listening to Dragnet, the authentic story of your police force in action.
Years ahead of them all. Chesterfield is years ahead of all cigarettes.
Chesterfield quality is highest. Here's the proof.
Recent chemical analyses give an index of good quality for the country's 6 leading cigarette brands. The index of good quality table, which is a ratio of high sugar to low nicotine, shows Chesterfield quality highest.
Chesterfield quality highest.
15% higher than its nearest competitor.
Chesterfield quality highest.
31% higher than the average of the 5 other leading brands. Don't you want to try a cigarette with a record like this?
Chesterfield. First with premium quality and best for you.
Try Chesterfield today. Regular or king size.
10:37 a.m. We drove to the crime lab and talked with Sergeant J. Allen. He told us that when they checked for powder burns on the body, they hadn't found any. They measured the reach of the dead girl and found that it would have been almost impossible for her to have pulled the trigger on the rifle, leaving the fingerprints they found on the gun. Blotter test failed to show any traces of nitrate powder on her hands. They checked the handwriting on the suicide note found in the room against samples of Gloria Paul's writing and found that they didn't match. From their findings, they said that it was their opinion that the girl had not killed herself, that she'd been murdered. We went back to the city hall and got out a local and an APB on Ross Mitchell. We called the landlady of his rooming house. She hadn't heard from him. 12:30 p.m. We went back to the rooming house and relieved the stakeout. We asked the landlady not to say anything to Mitchell about our being there. 12:45 p.m. Still no sign of the suspect. 1 o'clock. 1:30.
Who are you? What are you doing in my place?
Come on in.
Who are you?
Police officers. Come on in. Close that door. Put that suitcase down.
What's this all about, anyway? What have you guys been doing here? The place is
You
all
Ross
torn up.
Mitchell?
Yeah, why?
You know a girl named Gloria Paul?
What's she got to do with it?
You know her?
Yeah, I know her.
When's the last time you saw her?
Say, what's this all about? What's all these questions?
When was the last time you saw Gloria Paul?
Friday night, I guess.
Don't you know for sure?
All right, Friday night.
You haven't seen her since?
I told you, the last time was Friday
You
night.
didn't see her Sunday?
No.
Where were you Saturday and Sunday?
Out of town.
Where?
La
Can you
Cañada.
prove you were there?
Why?
Can you prove you were there?
I don't like all this. You guys coming in here asking a lot of questions. What are you trying to prove?
Who are you staying with?
A friend of mine.
What's his name?
I'm not going to have him dragged into this.
You haven't got any choice.
That's what you say. You haven't told me what this is all about. I'm not telling you anything till you tell
Now,
me.
you look, Mitchell, understand this. We're not here to pass the time of day. You better come up with some answers quick. Now, who are you with?
Friend of mine, guy named Sid Austin.
What's his phone number?
You going to call him?
We got to check your alibi.
Oh, what's his number?
Won't do any good to call him.
Thought you said you were there.
I was.
Then we got to call him.
Well, he won't be able to tell you anything. He wasn't there. He just let me use his place. There wasn't anybody there.
Who's got a key to this place besides you?
You mean here?
That's right.
Nobody.
You got the only key, huh?
That's right. The landlady's got one, just the two of them.
You got any idea how somebody else could get in here?
No. Why?
How well do you know Gloria Paul?
What's she got to do with it?
How well do you know her?
We used to go together.
Anything serious between you?
She thought we might get married.
How'd you feel about it?
I don't think that's any of your business.
Maybe it is. How'd you feel about it?
I liked her. She was a nice kid.
Nothing more?
No. Now, you look. I think it's about time you told me what this is all about. Something to do with Gloria. Is that it?
That's right.
What?
She's dead.
Oh. Oh. May I please have a cigarette?
Yeah. Here. Here's the match.
Thanks. How'd it happen?
Thought maybe you could tell us.
Why'd you figure that?
Where'd you see her last?
Up here.
This room?
Yeah.
When was that?
I told you Friday night.
You have any trouble with her?
No.
No argument?
I told you no. Well, how'd it happen? Can't you tell me?
You own a .22 rifle?
Yeah.
You got bullets for it?
Yeah, why?
Where do you keep it?
Closet over there.
You keep it loaded?
No, the bullets are on the shelf in the closet.
All right, come on, Ross. We better go downtown.
What
I
for?
want to talk to you.
What for? You got to tell me before I have to go. You got to tell me what you're holding me for.
Suspicion of murder. Now, come on.
Where are you taking him?
Downtown.
Why?
We want to talk to him.
You didn't have anything to do with it, did you, Ross?
I don't even know what this is all about. All I know is that Gloria's dead.
She killed herself in your room.
What?
In your room, Ross. It was suicide.
Well, they're arresting me for murder.
Oh, you can't do that. Ross didn't have anything to do with it. It was suicide. That's what you said.
All right, come on, Mitchell.
Well, you can't do that. It was suicide.
You want to take him out the car, Frank?
Yeah, come on.
You can see that you're making a mistake. He didn't have anything to do with it. He's going to have enough trouble with that girl killing herself in his apartment. You can't arrest him for murder. It was suicide.
What are you trying to tell us, lady?
What?
Something you want to say here?
No, you're making things up.
All right, let's go.
Yes. Yes, go ahead. Take him. Go ahead. He wants to be a star. Let him. Go ahead and take him and serve him right. The way you treat people. I tried to help him. God knows I tried. Got him to meet a lot of important people, a lot of contacts. You think he was interested? You bet he was. How's he show it? I'll tell you how. He thanks me for all I've done for him by running around. Chasing after that young nobody, that Gloria. I tried to reason with her, tried to talk some sense into her. Told her that she couldn't do anything for him. Told her that I could make him a star, bigger than anybody. She said she loved him. She doesn't know how to love.
You want to go ahead?
Came over here all the time, begging Ross to marry her. I told her to get out of his life and stay out, to leave him alone. He didn't need her.
When was all this?
Sunday evening, she came here all dressed up. Oh, when they're young, they know everything. I'm one of the biggest stars this town ever had. She's a nobody. I know what's good for that boy.
Didn't you tell us you didn't see the girl Sunday, isn't that right?
That's what I said.
Did you see her Sunday?
Yes, I did. She wanted me to let her into Ross's apartment. I told her he wasn't there. She said it didn't make any difference. She'd wait for him.
Yeah?
I told her to leave him alone. She didn't understand him, didn't know how to take care of him. I know the right people. He could have written his own ticket in this town. He could have been big. You don't want him. I killed her.
All right. Do you want to get a coat, ma'am?
Yes. Doesn't make any difference. I did it to help him. I thought you'd think it was suicide. I didn't think you'd figure anything else.
You wrote the note, did you?
I did. That's what you've got to understand. For him. That was all that counted. He'd married her and he'd been through. I had to stop it. I didn't want to kill her. But you can see I couldn't let him marry her. Ross is a fine actor. Real talent. Doesn't come along often.
All right, lady. Let's go.
He'll understand, won't he? He'll know why I did it. He'll understand.
I wouldn't know, ma'am.
Huh?
We'll let you ask him.
story you have just heard is true. The names were changed to protect the innocent.
On October 14th, trial was held in Department 89, Superior Court of the State of California, in and for the County of Los Angeles. In a moment, the results of that trial.
Now, here's our star, Jack Webb.
Thank you, George Fenneman. Friends, Dragnet Radio is taking a summer vacation. We'll be back in the fall. George Fenneman will tell you all about that in a minute. Meanwhile, I hope you'll watch our TV show regularly, and I also hope that all of you who are not Chesterfield smokers will try them. I like to feel that when we resume broadcasting in the fall, every one of you will have switched to Chesterfield. You'll find they're best for you. And, of course, when you go on that vacation this summer, be sure to take along a couple of cartons, will you? Chesterfield. And we all hope you have a very pleasant summer.
Thelma Alice Keene was tried and convicted of murder in the first degree. She was sentenced to life imprisonment in the California Institute for Women, Corona, California. You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department. Technical advisors, Captain Jack Donahoe, Sergeant Marty Wynn, Sergeant Vance Frazier. Heard tonight were Ben Alexander, Virginia Gregg, Vic Perrin. Script by John Robinson, Ben Alexander. Music by Walter Schumann. Hal Gibney speaking.
For a million laughs, tune in Chesterfield's Martin and Lewis show, Tuesday on this same NBC station. And sound off for Chesterfields, either regular or king size. You'll find premium quality Chesterfields much milder. Chesterfield is best for you.
By special request, Dragnet is being sent to our servicemen and women all over the world. Chesterfield has brought you Dragnet, transcribed from Los Angeles.
Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, Dragnet leaves radio for the rest of the summer. We'll be back early in September. Watch then for our return. Check the radio listings of your newspaper for the day and time. Please note, however, that if Dragnet is seen on television in your community, it will continue throughout the summer.
Have you tried new cork-tipped Fatima? It's the smooth smoke.
Sound off for Chesterfield. Chesterfield, first with premium quality and best for you. Chesterfield brings you Dragnet.
Ladies and gentlemen, the story you are about to hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent. You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned the homicide detail. A man has been shot and critically wounded. There's no trace of the suspect. Your job, find him. Here is Chesterfield's record with smokers, and important to you.
No adverse effects to the nose, throat, and sinuses from smoking Chesterfield.
That's the report of a doctor who has been examining a group of Chesterfield smokers for a full year and 2 months as a part of a program supervised by a responsible independent research laboratory. Don't you want to try a cigarette with a record like this? Chesterfield. First with premium quality. Chesterfield. First choice of young America. And that's from a survey made in 274 colleges and universities. Try Chesterfields today. Chesterfield, regular or king size. They're much milder and best for you.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Sunday, April 26th. It was raining in Los Angeles. We were working the night watch out of homicide detail. My partner's Frank Smith. The boss is Captain Lorman. My name's Friday. I was on my way back to the office, and it was 11:44 p.m. when I got to room 42. Homicide. Hi, Frank.
Hi.
Anybody call?
Yeah, Lopey called. Wants to know if he left his overshoes.
No, I didn't see him. Quit raining anyway. What are you doing there?
Just a minute, Joe.
What's the scale for?
The needle's bent a little.
Now, what are you doing?
Hey, weighing my stuff.
You're what?
Weighing my stuff.
Oh, yeah. I guess everybody ought to know what his stuff weighs, huh?
Yeah. Let's see here, my gun. Better take the bullets out first.
What are you doing that for?
Weigh them separate, Joe. Keep track.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, the bullets. Uh-huh. Handcuffs.
Frank, did anybody ever ask you about all this?
And my bullet clip.
Look, I'm a member of the club here, too. What's this all about?
Pencils.
4?
Yeah, press kind of hard.
Yeah.
Other stuff. My wallet. Change. Keys. Boy, no wonder my feet kill me.
What?
6 pounds, 2.5 ounces. That's what I carry, Joe. Working night's got a flashlight, too. That's good for another pound.
You figure that's what makes your feet hurt, huh?
Sure.
Yeah. 6 pounds, 2 ounces. How much do you weigh, Frank?
Any calls?
Come on, how much?
Joe, I get that all day from Faye. Never thought I'd get it from you.
Yeah, if it's a hot shot, I'll get it.
What do you got?
Shooting on East Berendo. 11:45 p.m. We swung out of the City Hall garage and headed south on Main Street. The streets were still wet after the rain. Code 3, red light and siren. And even with that, driving a fast car is no picnic. You can be wrong at every corner. Big buildings to block off the sound of your siren. Cars to shield the red light from oncoming motorists. It's no fun. There'd been a shooting and we had to get there. As Frank and I swung around the last streetcar on Main Street and picked up Berendo, we heard the police radio operator dispatching ambulance G13 to the address we were headed for. We didn't know what direction the ambulance would come from, so for the next few blocks we drove with added caution, knowing that our siren would keep us from hearing theirs. 5 blocks ahead through the mist, we could see the red lights of a police car parked at the curb. A radio car in the area had gotten the call and answered it immediately. It was 11:52 p.m. when we pulled up in front of 1981 East Berendo. The large house was dark. 2 neighborhood women stood in the driveway and directed us to the back of the house where we found the officers from Unit 1A6. We checked with them and got the information that they'd come up with. They suggested that they canvass the immediate area for any information on the assailant. Frank and I went in through the back door of the house. The victim lay on the floor. He was unconscious and bleeding profusely. His head was held in the lap of another man.
Are you the doctor?
No, sir, we're police officers. The ambulance is on the way here.
If I could just stop the bleeding, it's his chest.
Do you know who did this?
No.
Has he been conscious at all since you've been here?
Just for a second.
Did he say anything?
Well, I heard the shot and came right over. He was laying here on the floor, right here. Poor guy.
Yes, sir. Did he say anything?
Help me. That's all they said. Help me. I didn't know what to do. I got this towel from the sink and tried to stop the bleeding. This and my handkerchief, that's all I had. Can't do much, but I had to try. I had to keep pressing. That's all I could think of. Keep pressing. Try to stop it.
Yes, sir. Do you feel all right, sir?
Oh, yes, I'm all right. Got to help him.
Here, let me get in there and take care of that.
All right, come on, sir.
Get under. Okay, got it, Joe.
All right. Now, come on, sir. Get up. That's all right. You'll handle this.
The excitement. Can't seem to get my breath.
Something we can get for you?
Oh, I'll be all right. I think I'll get a drink of water.
I'd rather you wouldn't touch that glass, sir.
Huh? Oh, yeah, fingerprints. Well, I can wait. Oh, say, I did touch that towel. Hope it didn't hurt anything. Didn't mean to.
No, sir, I don't think so. What's your name?
Paul West. I live right next door, right across the driveway, gray house.
Uh-huh. Wonder if you could tell us what happened.
Sure, I want to help all I can. I live right next door, and I was the first one here. Anything I can do, I want to help.
Yes, sir.
I've known Charlie for, I guess it's maybe 40 years. Long time.
Charlie, that's the man's name here?
Yes, Charles Stahl.
How you doing, Frank?
Pretty bad. I don't know.
Would you tell us what happened here?
Well, it was right after Charlie left my place. That's when I heard the noise.
What noise, West?
I was out on my porch putting out the cans, getting the boxer ready when I heard the noise. First off, I thought Charlie was doing the same thing, getting the cans ready.
Well, what kind of a noise?
Like he dropped the box. I know now that wasn't it.
Joe?
Just a minute, West. Yeah.
I think he's coming around.
Is he coming too? You going to say anything? Who shot him?
All right, just a minute.
What's his name again?
Stahl.
Mr. Stahl. Mr. Stahl.
Maybe you talk to me. He knows me. We're friends. Let me talk to him.
Wait right there, will you, West?
I just wanted to help.
All right, stay right there.
Mr. Stahl, we want to help you. Can you tell us who shot you?
Hey, what's he saying? Is he giving you the
All right,
name?
hold it, Wes. Just a minute. How about it, Frank?
He's dead.
Did he say anything?
Yeah, not much help.
No.
Asked me not to shoot him again.
It was a couple of minutes before midnight when Charles Stahl died in Frank's arms. According to the next-door neighbor, Paul West, the victim was 55 years old. He was not married, and he lived in the big house on Berendo by himself. The ambulance crew returned to Georgia Street Receiving Hospital after making out a DOA report, and the coroner's office was asked to pick up the body. 12 minutes later, coroner's deputies Maxwell and Martinez arrived. Before the murdered man's body was removed, the crew from the crime lab photographed the scene, and Frank and I signed the property receipt for the money and the personal effects found on the body. We asked the crime lab to check a .32 caliber Smith & Wesson revolver found on the floor under the kitchen stove. There was one empty cartridge in the cylinder. We put in a call to gun records, but we found nothing on the gun. A call to R&I on the victim of the shooting turned up nothing. Latent fingerprints found nothing on the murder weapon. The crime lab crew found no footprints in the ground near the house, but they did find several marks of tire tracks and one good impression left in the moist dirt in the alley behind the house. A plaster cast was made of the imprint, and it was returned to the office to be booked as evidence. We checked with the officers in Unit 1A6, but they said that in canvassing the neighborhood, they'd been unable to come up with any new leads. 12:21 a.m. We checked back into the house, and we talked to the neighbor, Paul West.
Now, what kind of a job did Stahl have?
Owned a print shop, Stahl Press, over on the east side.
Was he in business by himself?
What do you mean?
Well, did he have any partners?
No, Charlie owned it right out. Had the pink slip, you might say.
Mm-hmm. Can you give us the address?
Sure. Biggest print shop on the east side. Printed just about everything. Posters, display cards, things like that. He gave me some cards last Christmas. Here, take a look. That's my name, embossed.
Yes, sir.
Did it himself.
Mm-hmm. That's very nice, sir.
Can I have that back, please?
Oh, sure. Here.
Embossed.
Anybody in the shop with him? Any employees?
Well, there's the Becker kids, Pete and Alvin.
They work in the shop, do they?
Yeah, I've been with him. I guess it's been about 5 years.
How's he get along with them, would you know?
Fine. I never heard about any trouble. I've been kind of friends with the family. Charlie was pretty fond of them.
Did he have any personal enemies, maybe because of the business?
No, not that I know of.
Uh-huh. Now, how long did you say you've known Stahl?
Been about 40 years. We grew up together.
I see.
His father and mine built these houses at the same time. Charlie and I went to school together. Belonged to the same club. We were soldiers together. Served in the 146th Field Artillery in the war.
Was that the last war, sir?
Oh, no, the big one. First World War.
Oh, I see.
Came back, and we lived right here, side by side, all this time. We've been friends, Charlie and me. Good friends. You've got to catch the person that did this. You've got to get him.
You said earlier that Stahl had been over to your house tonight.
Yes, that's right.
Did he have any special reason for the visit?
Well, he didn't need a reason. Charlie was always welcome. Always.
Well, yes, sir, we understand.
Of course, tonight's Sunday. We had a game.
Sir?
Bridge. Always play bridge on Sunday night. Never miss.
Well, what time did he get to your house?
Same time as always, right after supper.
What time's that, sir?
Right after 7:30. We were just finishing supper when he came in. Charlie sat down and had dessert and coffee with us.
Uh-huh.
Rice pudding with raisins. Charlie had 2 dishes. Then we started to play bridge.
Oh, I see. Now, who else was there?
You mean the game?
Yeah.
Oh, just Rose and Paula. Rose is my wife and Paula's my daughter.
Anything unusual happened tonight?
Just once.
Yeah, what was that?
Well, a bit of grand slam in spades and made it. Even with Rose. 7 spades.
Well, that's not exactly what we mean, Wes.
Pretty unusual.
Yes, sir, but did anything happen with Stahl?
Sure. He almost hit the ceiling when we made it.
Got pretty mad, did he?
Sure. Since we've been playing, most he ever did was make a little slam.
Mm-hmm.
He went right home after that. I guess that's when he went out to empty the cans. Anyway, that's when I heard the noise.
That was the shot, sir.
It must have been. I didn't know it at the time, but I guess that's what it was.
What'd you do after you heard the shot?
Well, now, at the time, I didn't know what it was. I thought maybe Charlie had fallen and hurt himself. I looked over at his place, but there wasn't any lights on. I went out the curb with a box of cans. Came back. I didn't see Charlie, so I walked over.
I see.
I called to him, asked if he was all right. Didn't get no answer, so I came in. Found him right on the floor, where he was when you came in.
You're the one who put in the call, is that right?
Yeah. I called the operator and told her to get an ambulance right over that Charlie had been shot. Told her to send a policeman.
Now, what time was it when Stahl left your house?
Oh, must have been about 11:15 or so. Earlier than usual. We always play almost to midnight. I guess Charlie got miffed about the grand slam I made, and then Paula kidded him about the woman.
What woman is that?
Oh, it wasn't anything. I went on and looked. Nobody there.
Sir?
A couple of times Charlie thought he heard a woman coughing outside the window by his house. I went over to the window, looked out there, but there wasn't anybody there.
Well, did you hear this coughing?
No, not really. After Charlie started talking about it, I thought I did, but when I went out to look, there wasn't anybody there. His imagination, that's all. He was mad because of the slam.
Well, did you hear anything at all when you were out and back?
Huh?
Well, when you went into Stahl's house, did you hear anybody around? A car, maybe? Something like that?
No, not a soul.
Wes, could somebody have gone out the front of the house when you came in the back?
Wouldn't seem it could be. I'd have heard him if they did.
Well, then you'd say that whoever shot Stahl wasn't in the house when you went in, is that it?
Pretty sure about that. Of course, they might have left before I went in.
Sir?
Well, I'd already took a box of cans out in front after I heard the noise. If there's anybody in the house, they could have gotten out then.
But you didn't see anybody, did you?
No, nobody at all.
Do you know if Stahl has any relatives in Los Angeles?
No.
He hasn't, huh?
Hasn't got any place, none at all. Always kind of worried him.
Why is that?
Well, he used to say he didn't have any folks to leave his things to. The house, the print shop.
Mm-hmm.
He made a will, though. All legal with a seal and all. Official. He used to talk to me about it.
I see. You know who the beneficiary was, would you?
Not now.
What?
Well, I knew who it was, but he said he was going to change it. Said he was going to put a new name on.
Well, did he say whose?
Nope. Just said I'd be surprised.
We looked through the victim's desk for the will. In one of the bottom drawers, we found a locked tin box. In a box of paper clips, we found a key that fit. In the top liner of the box, there was a Purple Heart ribbon and an American Victory Medal from the First World War. In the bottom of the box, there were several government bonds and the will. In it, he left the house and the rest of his possessions to a Mrs. Margaret Becker. The print shop and the business he left to Mrs. Becker's sons, Peter and Alvin. The will was dated 3 years previously. On a separate piece of paper, we found an address for a Mrs. Margaret Becker, the Lone Star Motel on Sepulveda Boulevard. 12:40 a.m. We affixed the public administrator's seal, which the coroner's deputy had left with us, to the door of the victim's house. We talked with the wife and daughter of the neighbor, Paul West. They confirmed the story he'd given us. On the way to talk to the Becker woman, we stopped and called the office. They checked the name through R&I, but they came up with no identification. We called Sergeant J. Allen at the crime lab, and he told us that the tire marks found in the rear of the victim's house were made by 3 B.F. Goodrich tires and 1 truck tire. He said that the cast they'd made was of the truck tire, as it was the only one they could lift, and that it was made by the left front wheel. There was a car parked in front of the manager's cottage. The registration listed Margaret Becker as the owner. Legal the same. We checked it.
Motor's cold.
Yeah. Tires don't match.
Well, nice try.
Yeah. Let's go. I get it.
Late?
Yeah.
1:15? Probably asleep.
What's the matter? Can't you read? Sign says no vacancy. That means full up. N-O, that means no. Waken somebody at this hour.
Yes, ma'am.
And don't ask me if I know someplace where you can stay because I don't. Good night.
Just a minute, Miss Becker.
How do you know my name?
Police officers.
Well, what do you want around here? I run a clean place. No trouble. License all paid up. Nothing wrong.
We'd like to talk to you.
What about?
You know a man named Charles Stahl?
What are you asking that for?
We'd like to know.
And I want to know why you're asking. What's this all about? Anything wrong with Charlie? That why you're out here?
Yes, ma'am.
What's wrong?
Well, it's pretty serious.
Well, go ahead. You can tell me.
Well, he's dead, Miss Becker.
Come in.
What's the matter, Margaret? Who are these fellows? Who are you? What are you doing here?
They're policemen.
Well, we don't need you. We got the whole thing cleaned up. We took care of it ourselves. Nobody sent for you. We took care of him.
No, Daddy. They're here about Charles.
Charlie Stoll?
Yes, sir, that's right.
Charlie here? Well, where is he?
He's not here, Daddy. Something's happened to him.
What?
He's dead.
Dead? Charlie?
Yes.
Well, how did it happen? An accident?
No, sir.
Oh, poor Charlie Stoll. He's a nice boy. Too bad. I thought you was here about the fellow number 8, the loud one.
What's that, sir?
A man from Texas came in tonight pretty drunk. We had to take him in. Daddy put him to bed. He was pretty drunk.
Heavy, too.
That's what he thought you were out here for.
Couldn't even get out of his car. Margaret had to park it for him. Loud, real drunk. Wore his pants inside his boots.
So what was it you wanted to see me about?
There's a few questions we'd like to ask you.
About Charles?
Yes, ma'am. When was the last time you saw him?
It must have been a couple of weeks ago.
I saw him last week, April 22nd. Went fishing down the pier.
Miss Becker, what was your relationship with Stahl?
Good friends, that's all. We knew each other almost all our lives. We used to live next door to him. Went through school together.
I always thought they were going to get married. Charlie was a good boy.
You see much of him lately?
No, not too much. I've been busy here with Daddy, and Charlie's had other things to do.
Moved next door to him on December 14th. Exactly 42 years ago come winter.
You know if he had any enemies, ma'am?
No, can't think of anyone who didn't like Charlie.
Didn't catch anything at the pier. Bad bait.
You've been home all evening, have you?
Yeah. Why'd you ask that?
Well, it's just routine.
You think I had something to do with it, that it?
No, ma'am, we don't.
Pinheads, that's what you need.
I beg your pardon, sir?
Pinhead anchovies. That's what you need for pier fishing.
You say it's routine, but I don't like you coming in here, waking us up with all these questions. We've had a bad night, that drunk coming in here. We've been on the go ever since then.
few years ago, I used to be able to get a lot of pinheads. Not anymore.
You want to make any accusations, you talk to Paul West. You just talk to him. Try your routine questions there.
Paul West?
Yeah, Charlie's neighbor. He's never liked Charlie, never. Anyone hurt Charlie, it was Paul.
Well, why'd he say that, Mrs. Becker?
Years ago, Charlie was sweet on Paul's sister. On the way back from the beach one night, there was an accident, and Paul's sister was killed. Never forgave Charlie. Always held him to blame.
Well, why was that, Miss Becker?
Charlie was driving. Paul hated Charles for it. Now the thing with the daughter. Paul didn't like that either. Somebody did something to Charlie. You routine the man next door. You talk to Paul West. Now get out of here. I want to get some sleep. If you got any more questions, you come back in the morning, and I'll talk to you then. You get out of here now.
Yes, ma'am. But what did you mean, the thing with her West's daughter?
All right. I'll tell you that, and then you got to get out of here.
Yes, ma'am.
A couple of months ago, Paula came home. Divorced her husband and moved home. Right away, Charlie got sweet on her. Paul didn't like it. Didn't like it at all.
Did you ever say anything to Stahl about it?
You bet he did. They had a lot of arguments, a lot of them. You talk to Paul West. He's the one you got to talk to. Now, good night.
We'll be back in the morning, ma'am.
I'll be here. Don't worry. I'll talk to you then.
I'm going fishing tomorrow. They're getting pinheads now.
There's a new one, huh? West's daughter.
Yeah. Better check it out.
Hold it a minute.
Huh?
Let's take a look back at the carport here. There it is, a Texas license plate.
Yeah. I'll check the motor.
How about it?
Radiator's warm. How about the wheels?
3 Goodrich tires and a truck tire.
You are listening to Dragnet, the authentic story of your police force in action.
Years ahead of them all. Chesterfield is years ahead of all cigarettes. Chesterfield quality is highest. Here's the proof. Recent chemical analyses give an index of good quality for the country's 6 leading cigarette brands. The index of good quality table, which is a ratio of high sugar to low nicotine, shows Chesterfield quality highest.
Chesterfield quality highest.
15% higher than its nearest competitor.
Chesterfield quality highest.
31% higher than the average of the 5 other leading brands. Don't you want to try a cigarette with a record like this?
Chesterfield. First with premium quality and best for you.
Try Chesterfield today. Regular or king size.
The information we'd gotten from the crime lab gave us the make of the tires that had left the imprints in back of the victim's house. 3 of the tires had been identified as being of Goodrich make. The 4th was a truck tire. The car we'd found in the carport of cabin number 8 had tires that matched the description. 1:26 a.m. We went back to talk to Margaret Becker.
I'd like to know just what this is all about. Why you're snooping around asking questions. Now, why don't you come right on out with it? Come on, you think I had something to do with Charlie being dead, isn't that it?
No, ma'am, we told you before. This is just a routine investigation. We're trying to get the facts here.
You still haven't told us about Charlie. Was he killed?
Yes, ma'am.
You think I did it?
We didn't say that.
Not in so many words you didn't, but that's what you meant. You found the will. That's what made you think it was me, isn't that it?
You knew about the will, did you?
Certainly I knew about it. Charles told me when he had it drawn up. Said he didn't have anybody else who wanted to see that me and the boys were taken care of.
Too bad about Charlie Stahl. He's a good boy. He's going to take care of Margaret.
He ever say anything to you about changing the will?
Yes. Told me about it the last time I saw him. Had lunch together, and he told me then.
Tell you what changes he was going to make?
No, not right out. Didn't have to. I knew. I could tell. The way he's been acting lately, I could tell.
So could I.
Well, what do you mean, the way he's been acting? Was there anything wrong?
Well, this thing with Paula. Told you about that. Charlie's been acting like a fool, falling all over her, gushing sweet talk. Silly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she had him in a trance. Her just 25 and him 55. Talk about spring and winter. Well, that was them.
How'd Paula feel about this?
How'd you expect her to feel? She thought that Charlie'd leave her the money, house, everything. She went right along with it, real brazen.
Sir?
Yeah?
You said earlier that you thought your daughter and Mr. Stahl might get married. Is that right?
You better did. They always been in love.
Daddy, that's not true.
Well, it is, too. I'm your father now. You show a little respect. After that no-good Becker walked out on Maggie, she and Charlie started to see each other again. Went real nice. Then Paula come into town, and Charlie Stahl took up with her.
Mm-hmm.
Charlie Stahl made out his will so that everything went to Margaret and the kids. Then he decided he'd change it.
You knew about the will, too, huh?
Sure, I was a friend of Charlie's. We used to go fishing all the time. talk about things. I told him that he was wrong to even think of changing his will. I told him that he was wrong.
What time did you say that car from Texas got in, ma'am?
I told you, about 10:15.
Well, ma'am, is it possible that somebody could have taken the car out without you knowing about it?
Hey, wait a minute, Margaret. That ain't right.
What?
It wasn't that late. It was only about 8 when he come in. I remember because I was in bed at 8:30. I put him to bed and then come back and went to bed myself. I wanted to get some sleep out of going fishing in the morning.
You pretty sure about the time, are you?
Well, you bet. I remember because I got in bed and turned on the radio, listened to that radio program about the detective. Fell asleep before the end, never did find out who stole the jewels and did the murder.
What was your daughter doing when you came back?
Just sitting there. She went out to put the car away, and I went to bed.
Mm-hmm. How long was she outside?
I don't know, a few minutes, I guess.
Can you tell us a little closer than that?
Not very well. I told you I went to sleep. I didn't hear her come in.
Miss Becker, I wonder if you get dressed, please. We'd like to talk to you downtown.
What for?
Well, we have a report from our crime lab. They found some tire tracks in back of Stahl's house tonight. They were fresh tracks. They'd been made since it stopped raining. Those tracks matched the car you've got parked back there.
And you think I drove the car over to Charlie's?
Well, we'd like to talk about it.
Why? Why'd I do a thing like that? Why'd I want to kill Charlie?
Maybe because he was going to cut you out of his will. Looks like a pretty good motive.
Oh, you two are out of your minds.
All right, ma'am. We'll lay it out for you.
You better do that. Making accusations you can't back up.
The way the evidence looks, we got a pretty good case here. The way it looks, you took the car and you drove it over to Stahl's. He was next door playing cards, so you waited in the kitchen for him to come back. A couple of times you coughed while you were waiting. He heard you. He came over to the window to see who it was. Because it was dark, he couldn't see you.
I haven't heard a story like that since I stopped reading fairy tales.
You came home and you killed him. Then you heard Mr. West next door. He came over to see what it was. You went out the back way to the car that you'd parked in the alley, and you drove it back here.
That's the way it looks to you, is it?
Yes, ma'am, that's the way it looks.
You figure she killed Charlie Stahl?
Yes, sir.
You're going to arrest Margaret?
We want to talk to her about it.
Oh, going to take her down to jail, huh?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll go and put my clothes on.
No, that isn't necessary for you to go with her, sir.
Well, she's not going.
What?
I killed Charlie Stahl.
Daddy.
You killed him?
Yep. Got tired of how he was treating Margaret. Got good and tired. Him talking about how he was going to change the will. I couldn't let him do that. I just killed him and drove the car over and did it.
What time was all this?
Huh?
What time did you go over to Stahl's?
Right after the fellow from Texas. I guess it was about 9.
What time did you kill him?
Oh, must have been 10:30 or so. I had to wait for him to get through playing cards. I had to wait for him to come home.
Why are you doing this, Daddy?
Why am I doing it? I said somebody's got to take care of the kids. Somebody's got to take care of you. I'm an old man. I ain't much use to anybody.
All right, come on, Miss Becker. You want to get dressed now?
She ain't the one. I did it. I killed Charlie Stahl. I already confessed. Why don't you believe me? Why don't you arrest me now? I did it.
No, I'm afraid not. You got the times a little mixed up. Stahl wasn't killed at 10:30.
No, he's just trying to help me, but he doesn't have to. Him and me were both here all night. Neither one of us left. I was in bed and asleep at midnight.
Why do you say that?
What?
Why do you think Stahl was killed around midnight?
I didn't say that.
You said that you were home and in bed by midnight, didn't you?
Just a figure of speech. I think I've talked enough to you. I don't have to say anything more. I'm going to see a lawyer about it. You got no right.
I'm the one that did it. I'm the one.
Why'd you kill him, Mrs. Becker?
You want to tell us?
Get old, nobody believes you.
How about it, Miss Becker?
I'll get dressed.
You did kill him then, huh?
Yes, I did it. Wasn't because of the money, though. You got to believe that. Wasn't because of the money.
Yeah.
I loved him. Deep in my heart, I loved him. Always did. Even when we were kids. I thought he was going to marry me. Then he met Paula.
You shouldn't have done it, Margaret.
I loved him, and he didn't want me. He wanted Paula. Do you know what that's like?
What's that?
Love somebody and them not want you. Begins to eat at you. Pretty soon you can't stand it anymore. That's why I did it, not for the money, you understand. I just wanted him.
Yeah.
Just him, that's all I wanted. Not his money, you believe that? I never wanted his money, I just wanted him. You believe that?
Well, it really doesn't make any difference, does it?
How do you mean?
You didn't get either one.
The story you have just heard is true. The names were changed to protect the innocent.
On August 6th, trial was held in Department 89, Superior Court of the State of California, in and for the County of Los Angeles. In a moment, the results of that trial.
Now, here is our star, Jack Webb.
Thank you, George Fenneman. Friends, all of us on Dragnet are proud to be associated with Chesterfield because, believe me, Chesterfield is years ahead of all cigarettes. You just can't beat a cigarette that was good to begin with and keeps getting better all the time. But, of course, you can't find out how much you'll like them till you try them. So that's what we'd like you to do. Get a carton of Chesterfields, regular or king size. That's all it takes. I know you'll agree that Chesterfield is best for you.
Margaret Alice Becker was tried and convicted of murder in the first degree. She was sentenced to life imprisonment on the California Institute for Women, Corona, California. Further investigation proved that the suspect's father, John Samuel Woodbridge, was not implicated in the murder. He was not held. You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department. Technical advisors, Captain Jack Donahoe, Sergeant Marty Wynn, Sergeant Vance Brasher. Heard tonight were Ben Alexander, Vic Rodman, Helen Klebe, Ralph Moody. Script by John Robinson. Music by Walter Schumann. Hal Gibney speaking.
For a million laughs, tune in Chesterfield's Martin and Lewis show, Tuesday on this same NBC station. And sound off for Chesterfield. Either regular or king size, you'll find premium quality Chesterfields much milder. Chesterfield is best for you.
Chesterfield has brought you Dragnet, transcribed from Los Angeles.
Have you tried new cork-tipped Fatima? It's the smooth smoke. Here's why. New Fatima tips of perfect cork, king size for longer filtering, and Fatima quality for a much better flavor and aroma. Remember, Fatima has the tip for your lips. Try new Fatima. See how smooth it is. Fatima is made by the makers of Chesterfield, Liggett & Myers, one of tobacco's most respected names.
Tonight, it's Adventure with Barry Craig on NBC.